we pray that he's doing better now. But Artie said in an interview a few years ago that Stern was very concerned about being a 60-year-old guy having porn stars and strippers on his show showing their boobs all the time. He didn't want to do that anymore. He was worried that he would look creepy doing this. But the problem with Stern's show, with his shtick, was that's what people listened to him for. That's why you tuned in. You didn't tune in to hear Howard Stern do an interview with, some celebrity and talk to them about their movie and then leave. We want to hear about their sex lives. He wanted to hear, what kind of underwears, Gwyneth Paltrow wore. We didn't care about, her acting lessons and who's her mentor and all that other bullshit. Now, Stern had Jackie the Joke Man Martling on, who was a very risque comedian, to say the least. Very blue, as they say in the business. And he was his writer for a long time, and he wrote these crazy bits, and Stern flew with it, and the show just was so controversial and pissed so many people off. But it got mostly New Yorkers. It was a New York show that syndicated all over the country in the mid-90s. But it was a New York show with a New York attitude, with a high school boys attitude, a locker room attitude, and it worked. It worked. Now, Stern wasn't the funny machine. He wasn't the funny engine in this show. Like I said, it was Jackie, and then later on it was Artie. And when Jackie, the Joke Man, left in 2000-ish, the show's ratings took a dip. And Stern had to make a big move, and he made a move to hire Artie Lange, who I just loved as a comedian. I saw him at the casino that I worked in a bunch of times. And he brought in, not only that, he brought in a different type of attitude. Artie brought in the street guy attitude, the bookie attitude. He had great stories about bookies and gambling and prostitutes and comedy and drugs, and that's what made the show great. It wasn't Stern talking about, his celebrity girlfriend or, his weekends in the Hamptons, because that's not interesting. Nobody gives a shit about that. Nobody can relate to that. It was the everyday street stuff that made the Stern show great. And as of recently, over the last 10 years, over the last 5 years, really, since 2016, since when Trump first became president, Stern went woke. And as we all know, when you go woke, everything goes broke. And his show just went completely downhill. He went from having millions of listeners across the country to, according to NBC's website, he is down to 125,000